What is good, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the WeSportin podcast. And today, as we did last time, there's another trade in the NFL that's pretty big.
Breaking news.
Yeah, we got Carson Wentz going to the Indianapolis Colts. Now, we're just going to kind of do what we did with the Stafford trade. We're going to break it down, give our initial thoughts. And yeah, so I'm not going to go first. I'm actually going to have Dylan go first just because he's a Titans fan and he's in that division. So I'm going to want him to kind of get a little...
Well, first of all, Nico, do you want to break down the actual
the trade between the Carson Wentz and the Indianapolis Colts for a 2021 third-round draft pick and a conditional 2022 second-round pick that can turn into a first-round pick due to Carson Wentz's playing time, which if he plays over 75% of Colts offensive snaps, it turns into a first-round pick. Now, I'm going to have Dylan go first, then Drew, then me. So, Dylan, take it away.
I don't care about this trade. Carson Wentz.
Oh, my God.
Wow. All right.
Okay, no, honestly, I'll be honest. Okay, so Indianapolis needed a quarterback. That's obvious. They lost to Matthew Stafford sweepstakes. They aren't going to get Deshaun Watson. So they went and got Carson Wentz, so I guess was an option. I mean, they needed a quarterback. They tried to fill that role. They didn't give up a ton for it. I mean, they gave up a third and most likely a first.
And I thought that the Bears gave up way more in that in their deal because I think the Bears were going to be willing to give like 2 firsts. And Nick.
So this actually is, by the way, speaking of Jared Goff, this is the biggest cap penalty on Philadelphia since Jared Goff because they both got paid humongous contracts.
Yes, they did.
I mean, Carson Wentz, we don't know why Carson Wentz was considered bad this year. 15 picks in 12 games. 16 to 15 touchdown interception ratio. I mean, he sucked this year. You say it's not completely his fault, but the simple fact of it is for the past couple of years, Philadelphia is not that big of a team. I mean, of course, they were like 2017, 2018. But in 2019, and even from 2018, people were trying to blame it on bad weapons and bad O-line, which is a possible reason. But I'll tell you that when you have a quarterback who gets injured every year, has a humongous contract, and throws a lot of picks, you can't blame it on the weapons every single year. So Carson Wentz has been below average for a couple of years now.
So do you give this deal a thumbs up or thumbs down?
For the Colts, thumbs up. Because they need a quarterback, I guess. I guess I would have way preferred trying to get Dak in free agency, but I guess, okay. And for Philly, you needed to get rid of Wentz.
Yeah.
But you took a $23.5 million cap hit. So,
yes.
But Eagles pay everybody.
Actually,
they're going to do that. They're
way more of a cap hit than that. Philadelphia is paying $33.8 million in dead money.
Oh, that's already. Maybe Jared Goff was 23.5.
Yeah, Goff was around 23 million for the Rams.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was. Okay, sorry.
All right, so with Dylan having this to be a thumbs up Colts, thumbs down Eagles, let's get our take on Drew. Drew, what do you think about the Carson Wentz deal?
It's a mix for the Eagles, but okay.
No. This is definitely a good trade for the Colts. This is a win for the Colts because, right, as Dylan said, they needed a quarterback, lost out on Stafford. They're not going to get Watson. They're not going to get Dak.
No.
They're not.
I don't think they will, but it's only one left.
No,
that was the only one left.
No, because Jerry's going to franchise tag Dak again for some reason, and that's going to be a whole debacle, and we'll probably have to make an episode about that when Dak gets franchise tagged and there's a bunch of drama.
Mm-hmm.
So I understand why they did. You need a quarterback because Jacob Eason was the only quarterback on your roster. So you go out and trade for a former MVP candidate. And lest we forget, this is the perfect coach for Carson Wentz because it was his old coach when he was an MVP. He's back reunited with Frank Reich.
Mm-hmm.
And we understand that Carson Wentz had a downright awful 2020, enough so where he was benched for Jalen Hurts in week 13. Like Dylan said it, 16 to 15 touchdown interceptions, 57.4 completion percentage, 72.8 quarterback rating, and a 49.6 QBR, which are all below average to really bad.
Yeah.
But Carson Wentz is only 28, and I still think he has some juice left in the tank. And if there's going to be a guy that's going to bring it out of him, it is Frank Reich. So I feel like this is, and even if it doesn't work out next year, the Colts he can opt out for absolutely no dead cap, and it'll cost the Colts nothing.
And they have a lot of salary cap too. Let's not forget that the Colts
absolutely have a lot of salary cap. Now they went from like 70 something million. Now they're down to like 50 something million, but it's still a lot of money for them to play with. They can grab, a wide receiver, buffer up the defense. I think the future is very, very bright for Indianapolis, and the price was relatively cheap compared to Nico. You mentioned the Bears, what they were going to give up. Yeah. I think maybe the market for Wentz wasn't that high if the only thing that they're going to give up is a 2021 third and a 2022 second, which will probably turn into a 2022 first. But at this point, for your potential franchise quarterback, who cares?
Yeah.
So now let's go to Philadelphia, to where now they are committed. Well, not committed if they don't go after a quarterback in the draft.
It'd be stupid if they did.
They'll stay with Jalen Hurts. They'll stay with Jalen.
Yeah. Well, it's a possibility that they draft a quarterback. I don't think they will. I think they would be absolutely dumb to. I think they should just commit to Jalen Hurts right now. And I think this signals full rebuild mode in Philadelphia. The thing that really hurt them is that dead money. Like $34 million is a lot. They're about $41 million over the cap, and $34 million of that is due to paying Carson Wentz. So Philadelphia is going to have to go into full rebuild mode.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think this is but all that matters is that the Colts, this is an absolute win for them.
Yeah.
I have no problems with this trade for Indianapolis.
Yeah. Well, so you're going to give this, I guess, a thumbs up for the Colts and a thumbs down for the Eagles?
Again, mixed for the Eagles, depending on what they do.
Yeah.
So we'll give it 50-50 for the both of you.
It's a
50-50 for the Eagles.
Yeah.
Thumbs up for the Colts.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to get into what were you going to say, Dylan?
I was going to say something, but you can go ahead.
Okay. So I'm going to kind of get into this as well. Just trying to give my opinion. I think this is going to, for Wentz, his situation, this is the best possible outcome he'll ever get in a trade anywhere else. You're not going to get stuck with the guy that, let's look back at 2017, guys. And I just want to, point this out. In 2017, before going down with an injury, he went 11-2 as a starter, threw for 3,200 yards, 33 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. That's with a healthy O-line, a good wide receiver, not good, because we all know Philadelphia does not always have the best wide receivers. But in 2017, they were rocking with Alshon Jeffrey, Nelson Aguilar, and I don't think it was D-Jax, but regardless, Zach Ertz, okay? With those guys.
I think Torrey Smith was on that.
Yeah, Torrey Smith as well. Torrey Smith. Okay, so you're rocking with 3 guys, all right? Now, we all know those guys to be very good wide receivers. Well, used to be. Alshon Jeffrey was pretty good. Torrey Smith, we all know the Torrey Smith and how he was. I'm trying to say that, and now Nelson Aguilar as well is doing very good for himself now in Oakland. What I'm trying to say is that when Carson Wentz has a good supporting cast around him to succeed. Now, let's look back in his first season with the Philadelphia Eagles. He, I think, had all the same pieces that he had before. But he went 16-14 touchdown interception ratio. He still threw for 3,700 yards, but with only a 62 completion rating. And he went 7-9. I'm saying with a good supporting cast around him, he does good. Now let's look at Indianapolis.
Well, see, here's the thing. Like that. Hold on. That was then before an ACL injury. That was.
Yeah, I understand that. But let's look back at this though. Okay, right now he has a good O-line. He has probably the best O-line in the league if we really look at it statistically. Quentin Nelson probably being the best.
No.
Okay, well, top five. Top 5.
Borderline.
Okay.
Yeah,
Top 5,
Cleveland's number 1. I
top-
have Cleveland 1.
top 5, top 10 O-line. Okay. And with the
Very good. Very good.
Yeah, they're a very good offensive line, good enough to guard Carson Wentz. Now, where does Indianapolis lack? It was the same thing that lacked in the Eagles. Weapons on wide receivers. With them losing T.Y. Hilton, yes, they have a young Michael Pittman on the rise, Mo Alley Cox, tight end on the rise. And with Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines kind of being that offensive role for them during, the end of the season when they kind of went to Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor. I think now personally with Carson Wentz being in that system and how he kind of made Miles Sanders and all that, I think him coming into the system, I think Carson Wentz is going to succeed very heavily. I think if the Colts play with the right pieces, they have a bunch of great there's a bunch of great wide receivers coming into this free agency. Let's look at Juju Smith, Allen Robinson. There's a bunch of great guys at wide receiver that could potentially come and play for the Indianapolis Colts. Now it really just comes down to when you really look at everything is Carson Wentz going to perform? Is Carson Wentz going to be the same player? Now, he won't be the same player. He's 28 years old now, going on to 29. He's not going to be the same player that we saw 4 or 5 years ago. But with, like Drew said, with Frank Reich, the only person that can really revive the career of a Carson Wentz is Frank Reich. I mean, Frank Reich is a great coach, magnificent. We saw what we did with Phillip Rivers and that offense. He, had their defensive coordinator. Their offense. I've always thought that the Colts really lacked on one thing, and it was offense. Just because Phillip Rivers being Phillip Rivers. But
and their offense was the issue last year. Don't forget. Their defense was phenomenal. It was their offense that was the issue on that team.
I just want to say one thing. However, you mentioned that the offense was the issue. But I think Frank Reich got the most out of a 38, 39-year-old Phillip Rivers as he was going to get. His last few years with the Chargers he wasn't what he once was.
Yeah.
Stepping into Indianapolis, I think Frank Reich really got the most out of Phillip Rivers.
And let's just say this, though. Let's just look at this, though. I think we can all say that the Colts are one of the teams in the NFL that are a quarterback away. Can we both agree? All three of us agree on that? They're a quarterback away from being in that conversation.
I wouldn't say that.
I think I would actually.
Yeah.
I think I would.
So
no, because they don't have wide receivers. If they had at least one actual number one wide receiver, yeah, I'd say quarterback away, but they don't.
They have a bunch of young guys that.
Yeah, but let me just say this: they have
a young guy.
If the Colts get their stuff together in the offseason and they get a good wide receiver in the draft and in free agency, they're going to be that team that I'm going to sit there and say, okay, I can see that team in February next year.
I think it'd be like a dark horse.
They're dark horse.
If the Colts go out and get a wide receiver in free agency, that's a number one, and then a good wide receiver in the first round, that's a number one. That team is that offense.
I think they're dark. I think you could
dangerous because
Carson Wentz coming off a 2020 season cannot be a high Super Bowl candidate. I think he'll always be a dark horse until he proves he's just still at an even half.
Well, I'll say this though.
You can't come off a season where you lead the league in pick.
Well, Dylan, I think what you're missing.
Come off a season.
I think what you're missing. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I think what you're missing here is that his number one receiver throughout this whole entire last year was Travis Fulgham. Travis Fulgham
had a phenomenal year. I don't know why.
I understand that.
And Travis Fulgham was not number one, by the way.
I know, but when Alshon Jeffrey was out and Deshaun Jackson was out as well, Fulgham was the guy that they looked to.
He was then moved to number one, yes, and he had a good year.
Yeah, he had a great year. But I'm just saying that, at the time. No. I'm saying at the time that we saw it on paper as the wide receiver one for the Eagles, did you know who Travis Fulgham was? I didn't know who Travis Fulgham was.
He came off the practice squad. No one knew who he was.
Exactly.
He came off the practice squad. No one knew who he was.
I'm saying that they were full of practice squad players on that Eagles.
Well, okay, if I may interject for a minute about the Eagles' weapons, they were absolutely marred by injuries.
Mm-hmm.
So, their wide receivers. Let me just go down the list. Alshon Jeffrey, hurt most of the year. Deshaun Jackson, hurt most of the year. Jalen Reagor, battling injuries. Travis Fulgham, practice squad. Greg Ward, practice squad. Former quarterback. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, he practice squad level player. Zach Ertz, hurt most of the year. Dallas Goedert also battled a lot of injuries.
Yeah, Richard Rodgers was the number one tight end.
Timeout. And their offensive line was battling a lot of injuries too. So is it really Carson Wentz's fault for pressuring and pressing without a lot of help per se?
That's why I don't think this is a really bad trade for the Colts at all, and that's why I can sit here and tell you.
No one said it was a bad trade for the Colts.
I know. I'm just saying that I think that okay. Here's how I see it, and let's give our record predictions on what's going to happen. I know that Dylan is a Titans fan who gets to see the Colts now 2 times a year. Okay, now Dylan, I want to ask you this, and I want you to be unbiased. Don't be biased. I mean, you can be biased a little bit, but try not to be. Do you see the Colts being the only issue in that division if Watson leaves?
Do I see them being the only issue in the division? No.
Yes. What do you mean?
No. I think the Jaguars are going to be a decent team this year. If Lawrence should pan out how he should, I like their head coach. Their defense was underrated all year. They make the right moves in free agency in the right draft. They'll be a decent team. I'm not saying they're going to make the playoffs, but I don't think they're the only issue in that team in the division.
I know, but okay, but let me ask you.
Texans are easily the worst team in the division.
Now, do you see the Titans taking that division?
Obviously.
No. There's no reason why the Colts shouldn't win the division. Are you crazy?
Well, you know what?
I'm going to tell you a reason.
I'm going to stay out of this one.
Carson Wentz throws a lot of interceptions. That's the reason. He sucks. He just sucks. You're acting like Frank Reich's going to make him be an MVP again.
Okay, but the Colts are a quarterback away.
They're not. They're an offensive way. Well, no, they're wide receivers.
So the Colts upgraded quarterback in youth and talent. They keep it a division race with the Titans, neck and neck. And you say that there's no way the Colts are going to win the division.
I didn't say there's no way. I said the Titans are going to win it.
Absolutely not. With their
Titans have a higher percentage chance of winning.
I'll kind of give up. I'll play both.
If we're saying who has a higher percentage,
okay, you guys seem to know what you're doing. All right, I'm just gonna.
Absolutely.
Here's my thing. Okay, here's my thing. Hold on, both of you, stop. Okay. Drew has a point. Drew has not a point, but let me say this. They are a sort of a wide receiver away. They need a wide receiver. At least to succeed, they need a wide receiver, okay? But also, Dylan's kind of right. The Titans have been running that division for the last couple of years, so what's going to be the reasoning that someone else is going to come and take that division from them? I'm going to say this, though. Play both teams badly. Dylan, as a Titans fan, can agree with me that you guys need a better defense, especially on the run, correct? You guys were – what was your run defense record last year?
Our run defense, it was more of a pass defense.
Yeah, well, more of a pass defense. Yeah. Okay, so you guys are maybe about a couple good defensive players away from just locking that whole thing up. Obviously, play it out in free agency. Yep. We're going to talk about it afterwards. Drew, the Colts are going to be a little bit better with Carson Wentz, but depending on who they're throwing to, because you can't throw to Michael Pittman, a second-year wide receiver, the whole game, and he's going to become the next QB.
No, you can't. But we also can't ignore the other. Well, they're a run-first offense. They have 2 really good running backs, Taylor and Hines.
You would say that they're a run-first offense? Didn't Phillip Rivers finish top 5?
Yes, they're run-first offense.
Well, yeah, no, because of check down passes to Naheem, yeah.
They love to run. They love to set up the run and then go to the pass. Here's the thing. If Pittman, what I've seen from Michael Pittman is that he can emerge and blossom and take a big jump in his second year. And that's my prediction for the Colts. If Pittman can blossom into that number 1, they're going to be fine, regardless if they add a receiver in free agency or a draft. And I think they most definitely can with $53 million in cap room to play with. I mean, the possibilities are absolutely endless for Indianapolis.
Mm-hmm.
I see the potential going through the roof. And Dylan, to your point about the Titans, I understand the Titans are going to give them a run for their money. They really are. The Titans are a good team, but the loss, you say that they're going to fix the pass defense obviously needs some work. You guys need some D linemen. Where they're going to find that, whether that's
obviously
re-signing Clowney again or whatnot. I don't know how the Titans are in how much money do they have to play with?
It depends. We aren't going to have a ton. Well, it depends who we resign.
Well,
we have a couple of decent
right now, how much money do you guys have to play with?
I think right now, let me check. I thought it was like 18, but we're gonna cut some people too. So I mean, let me check.
I hope something good happens in Washington.
You guys are at $1 million.
1 million. Okay, yeah. But
according-
we're also
according to
gonna
Spot Track.
cut some people.
So, I mean, unless you guys need to make some cuts, I mean, Corey Davis
going to.
losing, so is gone. So there goes your number 2. Clowney's a free agent. So I don't really see the Titans getting exponentially better like I see the Colts.
I mean, but you could
Here's
say
the
that, but
thing
the,
with the
but the
Colts.
Titans
Okay,
have been
so-
running that. The Titans have been running that division for the last couple of years. And
I wouldn't say they ran the division this year. It was very.
They ran it this year, but
last
not the year before that.
the Colts and the Titans split one games each, correct? They split down the season
Yeah, they
series.
tied.
How did we get on the Titans?
All right, so here,
I'm just-
here's because they're in the division.
Dylan, who's a Titans fan.
yeah.
All right, so here's what I'll say about the Colts. So, okay, so say Carson Wentz returns to, he's not going to return to MVP form. Say he returns to above average quarterback form. Okay,
Mhm.
lowers down on the picks. If they go in free agency, get a wide receiver like Allen Robinson, Kenny Galladay if he stays healthy, Juju, one of those top wide receivers. Then they go in the draft where they still have their first round pick because they traded their first round pick from next year away. I think they did lose an O lineman. They could potentially trade up and take one of the best O linemen in the draft if they wanted, or they could take a wide receiver here as well. They could, I'd say they'd have a way better chance at winning the division. I think it'd be really close between them and the Titans. But if they keep Carson, they don't really do anything free agency, and they don't really do anything in the draft, they aren't going to win the division. But if they have a perfect free agency and a very good draft, sure. They have a very good chance.
That's true. At this point, it really comes down to
about 50-50.
If Tennessee and Colts can play their cards right in free agency, then it kind of comes down. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags finish like with a 9-7 record or like an 8-8 record.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, that's considering that they play their cards right.
Well, I mean, they have a bunch of money to throw in, and their defense was very underrated last year. And have you seen that offense? It's developing, but
It's interesting. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
All right, so guys, here's the thing. All right, here's the last thing we're gonna do here. Records right now for the Colts next year. What are we hearing?
I'll let Dylan go first.
There's 18 games this year, right?
17, right? Yeah.
17.
Oh.
17.
Why did you tell me there was 18, Dylan?
Because there's 18 weeks.
I didn't. I said there's 18 weeks, 17 games.
Okay.
They just added.
18 weeks including the bye week.
Okay.
Nico, you go first. I'm gonna think.
Here's the thing. As much as I want to sit here and say that they're gonna do good, I just don't see them doing that. Him doing amazing in the first year, him coming back. I'm gonna say they go 10-7. Would that be the record that is? I can say they go 10-7. They'll make the wild card, but don't expect they're gonna be in the same situation they were in last year.
You know what? I think. No, I'm not being. This is pretty realistic in my eyes. 12-5 division champions.
Alrighty.
Alrighty. I have them going from, it's a pretty wide range. It depends on Wentz here. They could go from 6-11 to 11-6. That's where I have them going. I don't think they'll do any better than 11-6. I think they'll probably get second in the AFC South.
They'll crack a wild card spot.
If they get 11-6. I have 3 written down here: 6-11, 9-8, 11-6. If Wentz plays how he did last year, they may get worse than 6-11, but that's like the worst case. If he plays mediocre, they'll go 9-8. If he goes near MVP form, they'll go about 11-6, maybe a little higher. In average, about 9-8, but they could get 11-6. Or if Wentz sucks, like I think he will, they could get 6-11.
All right. Well, that is our coverage on the Carson Wentz deal and trade. If you guys want to, find out more, we're going to have it on our Twitter of the breakdown of the trade on Twitter as well. We're going to list the full trade just in case you guys didn't see it. But other than that, we have nothing else to say. So thank you guys for watching today's episode. If you guys want to go watch the last video of the baseball video that me and Drew just covered, Baseball for Dummies. And then me and Dylan will be starting our own NBA series that will be coming out tomorrow. We're going to be starting our own NBA series as well. We're going to kind of just be discussing every weekly thing, how me and Drew are doing with baseball, me and Dylan are going to do for basketball. So if you guys liked it, enjoyed, comment down below, subscribe, and peace.